Hi, welcome. Today we're going to talk about preparing for the FAFSA and everything that you need to know as you go to fill that out. So a lot of common questions that you may have about the FAFSA, and you're not alone in these, is what is a FAFSA? What am I exactly applying for? How can I be prepared? How do I file? What do I need to do for verification? What happens next? So a lot of these questions we're going to go ahead and cover today. So the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is a federal process, and it is a free application that you would fill out at fafsa.ed.gov. It is something that helps you to be eligible for things like loans and scholarships and federal and state grants. It has to be completed annually. So if you're a sophomore at EIU and you filled it out last year, you would still need to fill it out again if you're attending next year. And it is available on October 1st of every year. And we recommend filling it out as soon as you can to make sure that you're eligible for some of those grants. And then to the right here, you'll see our school code. So make sure to put that down as you fill it out so that we can receive your FAFSA. So what exactly are you applying for? So by filling out the FAFSA, you're applying for all of these things listed. So first is a federal grant. So those are things like the Pell Grant, the Teach Grant, the SEOG grant. This is money that you would not need to pay back. And it's just based off of different things that you put on your FAFSA, like income, assets, and things like that. It also is applying you to be eligible for work study. So this is something that you can do while you're at Eastern. And so you would work on campus, and as you work, you would get paid and you could use that towards your bill. The compensation is at least the current federal minimum wage, and then the funds are limited. So that's another reason to fill out your FAFSA soon. This also helps you be eligible for state aid. So the Monetary Award Program, or the MAP grant as you'll commonly hear it, it's very similar to the Pell Grant, it's just at the state level. And the deadline varies for this, especially with this one. So another reason to fill it out soon. And then the FAFSA also helps you be eligible for institutional aid. So there are some things like the Panther Promise tuition waiver, and just different programs that will look at your FAFSA information just to see your financial need. And so that would help you be eligible for those. And then also federal loans would require a FAFSA to be on file. So if you're wanting to get federal loans subsidized or unsubsidized, you would need to have this filled out. And also make sure to file this even if you don't think you're going to get any financial aid, because a lot of the scholarships you might apply for would still require having one on file. So in order to be ready, you're going to need your social security number and then your income tax returns. There is a way that you can do the IRS data retrieval tool. So if you don't remember some of those, there's ways you can log in and then it will link to your account and already have it filled out onto the form online. And then any W-2s or any other records that you might have of your money made that year. So for the FAFSA does 2 years prior. So that would be the information that you're collecting for your W-2s and your tax returns. So for example, for the 2022-2023 aid year, you would be looking at 2020 tax information. So it's the year 2 years ago. And then you also would need to have an FSA ID when you go to fill out the FAFSA. So if you haven't done this before, you would just create an account and make sure to mark down what your FSA ID is. You can put it on a piece of paper or something, keep it somewhere safe so that you can just remember when you need to go back and log in, because I know it can be kind of frustrating if you're like, oh, I don't remember what my password was. And then you're also going to need your parents' information if you're a dependent student. So you would be filling out those same tax information and W-2s and stuff like that for yourself as you would for your parents. So make sure to keep in mind if you're filling this out that you'll need to contact your parents. And there is a link listed on this screen that helps let you know if you would be considered dependent on the FAFSA, and there are certain requirements for that. So if you're not sure if you're dependent or independent, you can go ahead and go to that link. Yeah, and it's nice to have this information with you as you sit down to file, so you can just do it all in one setting, but you can always save your FAFSA where you're at and then come back using that save key that you would put in as you leave your screen the first time. So some tips when you're creating your FSA ID. This is your login for a lot of things. It's for studentaid.gov as well. And you can only use one email per FSA ID. And so your parent and yours would be different ones. And then, yeah, so the parent would create their own. So if they're going to go fill out a Parent Plus loan application, make sure that they have their own FSA ID that's different from yours. And then there are certain requirements that you can't have, like your name, your birthday, or stuff like that, that's easily identifiable and easy to hack into. And then you're also going to use this ID to complete entrance counseling and a master promissory note if you've never taken out a federal loan before. And then, yeah, make sure you write down your password. It saves a lot of time, so you don't have to go through the process of resetting it every single time you log in. Some common mistakes to avoid as you're filling out your FAFSA. Don't leave any blanks. So even if the response is 0, just enter in 0. It just saves you the hassle of it maybe being incomplete. And then also be sure to enter in all the information as accurate as possible at the time of filing. So when you're filling out your FAFSA, make sure it is representative to what that certain point in time is, and also representative of what your tax information was for the year that they were requesting. And then always make sure to include your household size and number in college, because this can really affect the age you get depending on what you answer for those. And then make sure that EIU is listed as your school of choice to make sure we get it and it's not sent to another school that you're not attending. And also, I always recommend double checking to see how many credit hours you've earned, because that would affect what grade class you're listed on for the FAFSA. So just make sure to double check that. And then also, just to make sure you receive full consideration for all of your programs, just make sure you fill it out as soon as possible. So some common mistakes when it comes to filling out your parents' information on the FAFSA. If your biological parents are divorced, but your parent in your household is remarried, you must include the parent and step-parents' information and income. I know that sometimes people have questions about if they're supposed to put their step-parent on the FAFSA, and if that's who your household is, then yes, you would. And then if your parents are divorced, but you live in both households, just put down the parent that you that supports you more than 50% of, or yes, more than 50% of the time, or provides you with more than 50% of your support. That would be the one that you would put down for that. So depending on your situation too, your parent might be required to provide more information to our office. So it's just important to include the most accurate information at the time of the filing to avoid getting a rejected FAFSA. And then don't submit your FAFSA without your parents' information. So it'll have a little spot that has a title of student information. And so once you answer that questions about yourself, it'll determine if you're dependent or independent. And just because your parent doesn't claim you on taxes doesn't mean you're not considered independent, doesn't mean you will be considered independent for FAFSA purposes. So if you're unable to retrieve your parents' information for any reason, just make sure to reach out to our office and we can kind of guide you on what to do for your specific situation. So what else should you know? There's also another way that you can file your FAFSA if you don't want to do it on the web. You can do it through the My Student Aid mobile app, and it has a lot of the same features as the online version, so that's just another way you can do it. You can create a save key, like I mentioned earlier, to come back to your FAFSA at another time, just in case you're like, oh, I forgot this one specific tax document, I need to go get it. You would create a save key, and then you would put that back in when you go back to fill it out. Like I said earlier, it's your prior year tax information. And just because you submit your FAFSA doesn't mean that's the end of the process. There might be some more additional information that is required. So just make sure you're monitoring your Panther Mail and your PAWS account to see if anything else was requested. And then report honestly and accurately. Mistakes on the FAFSA can make major changes in your awards. So just make sure to double or triple check your answers before submitting. So a lot of people have a question about what is verification. Maybe they've heard of someone getting or someone having to verify their information, or maybe they have in the past and not sure what it was. So about 30 to 40% of all FAFSA applications are selected for random verification. So there might not be a specific reason that it's selected, just because it can kind of be random sometimes. But there also might be some that are selected due to discrepant information, and they just need to clarify what was on the FAFSA is actually accurate to what your situation is now, make sure it's you, all of those type of things. So if you see a notification that you were selected for verification, don't freak out about it. There will be information about what you would need to turn in, and that's done with our office. So the school is responsible for collecting documents from the student, and sometimes your parent to complete the verification process. So you would hear from us, and we would be able to help let you know what exactly is required and give you a timeline and all that type of thing. So this will be in your PAWS account if you have anything that is required or requested for you to fill out. And then keep in mind that you need to have this verification step done in order for your financial aid to be awarded. So it's not going to be offered until your verification is complete. So I recommend as soon as you get notification that you were selected, go ahead and fill out whatever was required so that you can get your aid awarded. So after you submit the FAFSA, the financial aid offices will receive it, and then it would process it for awards. So typically, you would receive that award package in late winter or early spring. So in the past, those award letters were created in December. So go ahead and fill out the FAFSA as soon as you can, so then you can hopefully get your award package in around December. And then that would be for the next school year. As I've said before, make sure to check your PAWS and your Panther Mail often. That's how we can communicate with you. And so it's just really important that you keep looking for that. And then after you fill out your FAFSA, keep looking for some free money, some scholarships. You've done a huge bulk just by filling out the FAFSA, but it doesn't have to stop there. You can look for more scholarships and stuff, especially as more start to pop up for next year. Yes, moving on. So where can you find those scholarships? Here's just a large list of where you can find scholarships. EIU has their own scholarship search engine, and that's eiu.academicworks.com. So there's a whole list. There's like over 800 scholarships that EIU offers specifically. And if you log in with your EIU login, it'll show ones that are recommended to you based off of your major, any type of organizations you might be a part of, stuff like that. So it can suggest some for you and kind of narrow down that search. So that's a really easy way. Those usually open up around November 1st and are open through March for the next school year. But then you can also look for scholarships in the community. So a lot of banks or charitable organizations, employers, stuff like that, they'll have scholarships, especially just around the community. So be on the lookout for those. And then also, there's also online scholarship search websites. And if you go to our website, which will be on the last slide, there is a whole list of outside scholarship search websites and search engines that we know are reliable. And you can go through and see if there's any more on there as well. So once you get your award letter, here's how you would go to accept any of your awards. So those are normally issued out in the early spring semester, and you will not receive another letter in the mail. So it's going to come through to you through your notification on PAWS and Panther Mail. So here are kind of the steps. You would log into your PAWS account. You would hit the financial aid tab at the top, and then hit award, and then award for aid year. And then you'll see something that looks like this on your, that's on this screenshot here. and you would fill out the resources and additional information tab, which has a title for disbursement authorization that you would agree to, and then the terms and conditions that you would accept. Once you filled out both of those items, you can accept the award offer. That tab will open up for you where you can go in and accept or decline. Make sure that even if you're offered something and you don't want it, make sure you go ahead and go in and decline it if that's what you're wanting to do, just so that it doesn't hold up any of your other aid from dispersing. But in that section, you can go ahead and accept or decline these. So just things to know about your award offers. A loan is financial aid which you must repay. So those loans can be deferred until, or they will be deferred until you're out of school or drop below full-time, or sorry, part-time. And then the grants, scholarship, and waivers, those don't have to be repaid. So things like the Pell Grant and the MAP Grant or any private scholarships, you don't have to worry about repaying those. A lot of people refer to those as free money. So if you're unsure of what aid you want to accept, if you're like, I don't know what this loan actually means, what am I actually accepting, you can contact our office before submitting your decision, especially because some of the aid can't be reinstated if you reject it. So for example, the federal work study, if you are like, oh, I don't want that, and then later on you want it, it can't be reinstated. So make sure to contact our office before you submit your decision if you think there's even a chance that you would want some of those things. And the FSA EOG grant as well. So respond as soon as you can, just so you can make sure that you solidify that aid that you were offered. So if you still have questions about any of this or filling out the FAFSA, scholarships, anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to our office. Here's our phone number and our email. Make sure when you send us an email that you're using your Panther mail, and then we can't release confidential information over the phone. So it might be easier if you would like to send something with your Panther mail if you're needing something specific, or just stop by our office in the Student Services building. All the communication is going to be sent to you. So if your parent was expecting something, it's going to be going to you. And then certain things that can't be released to your parent. So keep that in mind. And then just make sure to keep checking your pause for links to your requested documents and status of awards. Thanks for tuning in.